This one's kind of a bummer. Low stakes in the grand scheme of global society, and hell, maybe even low stakes in the context of this part of the internet that I'm talking about. But nonetheless, a sign of the times we're in, and how those little comforts and perks in our terminally online lives never seem to last. At some point in the last few years, Lo-Fi Girl, formerly known as Chilled Cow, quietly removed one of its core features, which was a key part in what endeared me so much to the channel and the brand in the first place. Let's get into it. Years back, I made a video essay subtitled Beauty and Altruism to sum up Lo-Fi Girl's product, style, and creative MO. Anime-inspired vibe farming aimed at students and workers and other anxious folks who needed to fill the void with something unintrusive yet contemporary sounding. This Ghibli-looking kid, her room, her cat, even her life outside of studying, tapped into the pop cultural zeitgeist of its generation. It was cute, it was cool, it's both of those things to this day. Of course, even then, there was an unmissable market that spawned in its wake, with copycat brands and radio channels cropping up to cash in on our anthropological need for chill beats to study to. I'm sure the Romans had that shit too. It was ultimately a business, a product of mass appeal. Yet at the end of the day, the one thing that always made it extra cool to me was the community built atop the brand. Musicians, producers, and visual artists who kept coming back to the collective to put together pleasant, stylistically diverse projects that made the music at the core feel immersive and made by humans. That last part's prescient. Imagine beats, illustrations, and camaraderie fostered by organic organisms, and not by insecure IT guys with a god complex and a deficit of fucks to give. Business is business, of course, and I guess between the expansive growth of the channel into a lifestyle brand and cross-platform commodity, they decided to make it less of a tangible, interactive community and more of a conventional IP. Which honestly shouldn't even be all that surprising to me. Even at the height of my passion for this channel, I was aware that the core output is tailored to a somewhat eerie need. Here, have an hour or so of relaxing, propulsive wallpaper for sleep, or homework, or coding, or tax filing. It's quite nice to grind and cram, actually. It's romantic. These are the best years of your life. It's, as the kids say, a total vibe. Aren't you content? Aren't you nostalgic for when you didn't have to pay for rent or groceries? Let me be clear, nobody's making me buy any of the vinyls or hoodies or mugs or plushies, and you can get plenty out of simply turning one of these long plays on and enjoying it for what it is. I've been to a couple of parties and family shindigs where they'll just turn it on in the background for party flair, and you know what? It works. But that option to peruse the music that populates these streams, the artwork, the individual artists and beat makers who make it what it is, it made even such a blatant capitalization on our work worries and unnerved minds a bit less so. And now it's gone. Okay, so just to clarify, all of these videos used to be available on the main Lo-Fi Girl channel. That's what these were, in this heavily filtered, heavily edited footage from that video I talked about earlier. I'm sure if I used Wayback Machine or something, I could find something clearer, but you get the picture. EPs or LPs with visualizers, unique artwork. That was the hook for me. And then at some point they stopped uploading to the main channel. Where in hell? And instead uploading it to Lo-Fi Records. That's where all of those splendid, appealing uploads went. It's a pretty light channel now. And credit where due, it does involve regular artists and producers showing their process. That seems to be the output of the last few years. I think that's cool. I think that's flush with the old MO. But the old MO was more open, a bit more to the point, and none of the older uploads of that collaborative era can be found on the main channel either. The closest we get to stuff like that involves singular artists, a stretch of collabs with someone like Palfu, who's a Canadian rapper, I believe. These are nice, and again, flush with the rest of the brand. Kids with books and headphones listening to music in appealing settings. Not quite as much of a interpretive or experimental slant to it as those other visualizers. Everything's of a piece, which, you know, is good for brand integrity, but as I keep getting at, I wanted something more than brand integrity. Enough phoning it in, though. Teehee. Let's get back to full quality nonsense. I tried diving into the when and how, and the most I've come up with are Reddit threads of other curious listeners, some of whom caught the change the day after it happened, and noted that whatever uploads were attached to Lo-Fi records are not only gone, but marked as having been zapped due to a violation of YouTube's terms of service. That is misterioso. That is ambiguoso. That is some other English word that I attach an oso in the hopes that it's a Spanish word to sound cultured. I mean, was there a mistreatment of talent? Was there some sort of contract that had finally run its course or been nullified by some upper-level acquisition? Your guess is as good as mine. We'll probably never know. To be crystal clear though, you can still get their playlists and streams to play in your own content, but now instead of a pretty splash page that walks you through how to properly cite the brand and the individual work used, you have to go through this commercial license where you have to pin down the size of your platform, monthly viewership, and even your budget. We live in a chaotic, derivative, and even theft-filled landscape. Crediting is an issue. Artist compensation is an issue. AI is a fucking issue. I'm all for accounting for all of that, but the shift from a good-natured hub for creativity and pleasant artwork to now it feels like any other dang ol' IP with investors and junk. I don't know, man. Makes me kinda sad. And don't get me wrong, I'll continue to listen to the streams, I'll continue to geek out when there's lore drops or a new animated short, and I think it's a little dope that they've expanded into an in-house animation and design studio, but there really was something more real feeling and earnest about the previous layout, something more akin to the open source nature of the early internet and more underground communities, which just doesn't match the aims of something that snags deals with Marvel or Assassin's Creed. Ooh, hell yeah, dude. Jazzy lo-fi to plot a murder to. Okay, I want to end this on a decent note. This isn't an attack on Lo-Fi Girl, this is just me pining for what it once was. The silver lining in this whole situation is that all of that stuff that I said was gone on the usual places is still available for streaming and purchase at places like Bandcamp. This one right here is one of my favorites that I would come back to pretty frequently. It even featured in my follow-up video discussing Lo-Fi Girl from years ago. Springtime with Friends by Tender Spring. Very mellow, very boppy, bird noises sprinkled throughout all the recordings. Love this art here. Of course, it's hard to appreciate the art when it's in black and white printed out on a piece of paper. I don't even remember why I did this, but I did. Especially weird since I have the real thing right here. But yeah, all of these uploads can still be supported directly and downloaded from their Bandcamp, which is nice. Someone somewhere is still being compensated for what they contributed to the collective, to the record label, and that at least makes me happy. As for those visualizers, like, obviously I had access to them and could put them in the video. They can be found in places, but I almost don't want to link them for a couple of reasons. If they were taken down because the artists who contributed to it weren't getting enough financial support, alright, that makes sense to me. Maybe there's some kind of like back-end thing with YouTube, because I know like the bigger streams got taken down due to copyright and TOS flags that were unfairly applied to the videos. Again, not an attack, not an accusation, just acknowledging that shit's ambiguous and a little frustrating. But at the end of the day, you can still enjoy the music. We can, to quote Team 4-Star, support the official release. On to the housekeeping part. So this was a back to basics upload. I wanted to get one of these under my belt before I continue to craft the landing strip for more ambitious long form videos for this here main channel. If any of that sounds good to you, like, share, and if you want some extra content to whet your appetite, I've got a second channel dedicated to creativity, making stuff yourself, wasting time because it's fun. Pronov, go check it out. That's it for today. Be sure to subscribe if this did anything for you.